Ragtime is a beautiful piece of work. It's a musical. Started in 1996 in Toronto. I'm sure probably many people have seen it in its previous incarnation. It went to New York. Really, I think as a contemporary musical, it's one of the most complete, certainly in the last kind of 20, 30 years, a piece that has really been able to adapt a book, really take the spirit of the book, of the novel, and then actually turn it into a very interesting new kind of musical, still keeping all the things that we love in a musical: beautiful music, great story, but in this case different stories, different than I think the kind of stories we've been telling at this show before. The novel itself, Ragtime, was something that I certainly read when it came out in the 70s, and two things struck me then, and it still strike me now. One is that E.L. Doctorow, the writer, managed to put together a real variety of stories, a series of stories, in a very kaleidoscopic way. He wanted to show America at the turn of the 20th century and what an extraordinary world it was, and he chose to tell it from really three major stories point of view: the story of Coalhouse Walker, the ragtime pianist, and his girlfriend Sarah, from the immigrants from the Lower East Side as represented by Tate and his little girl, and then the representation of the bastion of whiteness in New Rochelle. Nice WASP people, good, solid WASP people, well, goodish, solidish, as we find out. And of course it was by representing those groups and the clash between those groups and then the interconnections between the groups that really is the meat of the story in large thematic terms, but really also it is three love stories that are put together in slightly different ways. And I think that the musical very much has managed to keep the intimacy of the three love stories plus the epic world that swirls around everybody in it. And the other thing, of course, that it struck me that what E.L. Doctorow did, and which I love that they've maintained so well in the musical, of course, is the introduction of a mix of real characters, or characters that we actually know, historical characters, such as Emma Goldman, such as J.P. Morgan, Houdini, and then intermix them with fictitious characters. And so you get this very interesting kind of dynamic between Houdini talking to Tate, the immigrant, or you get Emma Goldman talking to Tate, the immigrant, and so on. Booker T. Washington talks to Coalhouse. So we get this sense of the real world that they come from. The conversation, it deals with some very harsh things. It deals with the really radical racism that there was then, and it deals with clashes. We go to a Manhattan where the Lower East Side is I mean, the tenements there are just, the level of poverty is stunning, and yet just up on the top of the island of Manhattan, there were people, friends of J.P. Morgan, who were having dinner on horseback. This was the huge differentiation of the two worlds. So a story about the turn of the 20th century, about a country that we're very close to, and we're right on the border, and I thought great conversations, great stories. But not only that, the interesting thing is, when this play was originally done in 1996, I don't think that the people even writing the adaptation, certainly not Doctorow in the 70s, could have imagined the changes that would have happened since then and into the world that we're now living in. The very obvious one from our point of view in this piece being the fact that we have, an African-American president of the United States, which gives the song "The Wheels of a Dream" a whole other meaning when you hear it, the song that Coalhouse and his wife to be Sarah sing with their little baby. And Occupy Wall Street, how much of that, and Occupy all the other towns. That notion again, that is another replica of the kind of world that was happening at the turn of the century. So there's so many things that are happening. We're at a time at the moment where I think the resonance of ragtime is enormous. And so for that reason, really, I thought that here are fantastic stories, and here are stories that we need to be telling. And we now have a company that we've developed to be able to tell this story. And it's a very different type of musical for us, but I think that I certainly know by the sense that I'm getting from the audiences that the reaction, it's really hitting people and connecting to them. And I'm very excited about that.